Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Jorde.
Thank you. Please state your name.
Marjorie Swan?
And Ms. Swan, are you a Wright County landowner?
Yes.
And do you have ownership interest in 3 parcels that are being targeted by the proposed Summit Hazardous Pipeline?
Yes, and with my sister, Ramona Jean Ritter.
And you and Ramona, your sister, caused to jointly file pre-filed testimony in this matter, is that right?
Yes.
And that contained a series of attachments and exhibits as well?
Yes.
And if we were to walk through each of those questions, would you provide here today substantially similar answers as you have in your written testimony?
Yes.
And as you sit here, can you think of any material updates or corrections that are necessary?
Just a map of the tile that's on the 2 farms, and that was submitted this morning. We had called our county recorder, and they had informed us that there was no tile, but looking through some of the records, we found back in 1960 that there was some tile put in.
So initially you were under the impression that there wasn't tile, and after your pre-filed testimony you found out that in fact there is, and today as hearing exhibit 632 we've submitted that information?
Correct.
All right, very good. I would offer exhibits 442 through 443, which are Ms. Swan's pre-filed testimony and attachments, and then 632, which are those updated tile maps.
Are there objections? No objection. Seeing no objections, the board will admit, give the way to.
Thank you. And with that, I will tender Ms. Swan for cross-examination.
Thank you.
Mr. Taylor?
Thank you. Ms. Swan, I'm Wally Taylor. I represent the Sierra Club. Regarding Exhibit 632, do you know when that tile was installed?
1960.
Okay. And when did you first learn about the Summit project?
Well, we got the letter from Terry Branstad first, back in before Christmas of 2021, and just getting different letters from Summit, phone calls, attending meetings for Summit. We went to a Summit meeting that was personal invite on March 9th, 2022 at the Heartland Museum. When we attended that meeting, it was a very cold day. It was about 10 degrees. Of course, Northern Iowa, you always have to have wind. And me and my sister attended, and when we went in, we asked the Summit representatives if we could hand out some flyers. And they said, yes, we could, but we'd have to do it outside. So we said, that's fine. We went and got some longer coats on because it was so cold. We were there about a half hour early. 5 o'clock came around. We were going to go to the meeting. We walked in. The Summit representative said we could not attend. And we're like, you invited us. Why can't we go? They said, you're protesters. You have to leave. So they called security. Security locked us out. So with that happened, we really felt, what's Summit hiding? Why can't we give out information to other farmers? Why would we sign an easement when you're escorted out by security? We did not make any noise. We were just handing out information. That really made us wonder why we would want to trust Summit.
Have you had any contact with Summit land agents regarding easement or your property in general or the project?
Whenever they've come, it's always been out-of-state plates, unannounced. We've caught surveyors on our property. A neighbor caught surveyors on our property last April. She actually drove out in the field and asked them what they were doing. And they says, well, we're just here to survey. Do you think the landowners would care? And she says, I know them. Don't you see the no trespassing signs? We took time to put up 17 signs in the area, not to have trespassers on our property. She says, well, I'm going to give them a call. She says, oh, no, don't do that. We'll leave. We've gotten numerous phone calls, text messages. Christy Clark sent us a message with a dollar amount offer saying this is the best she could do for the proposed pipeline. What kind of company does that just to send you a text message on a Sunday? We have had several land agents, when they come, it's Texas plates. The last time they came, it was August. We told them that we'd hired Domino Law Group. It was 3 agents. Why did we need 3 agents to try to talk to us? We're both widows. I don't know if they felt more people we would roll over. No. That just made us more determined that we don't care for Summit.
Okay. So you and your sister own this land jointly?
Yes.
Is your sister opposed to the pipeline as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Did you ever talk to the Summit representatives about, easement terms and trying to negotiate some easement terms?
No, because we do not want this pipeline.
Okay. Can we bring up the KMZ map? Okay, Mr. Jorde said you had 3 parcels. Does this appear to be the 3 parcels?
The one to the south doesn't look right. It'd just be the one straight across, like the 3 that are straight across, and then the one to the north is correct. But we were under the impression it's just the 3 parcels that were going to be affected. These 3. Actually, more like this.
Okay. Have you seen this map before?
No, not that one.
Okay. And it looks like the pipeline is proposed to go through the south part of most of your property and then crosses the Iowa River. Is that your understanding of where the pipeline route would be?
We were under the impression that with the 3 parcels, it'd be about 3/4 of a mile that they're going to affect.
How did you get your impression of what the route would be?
From the square footage that they had given us at the very beginning. Exhibit H.
Okay. Well, the Exhibit H document came just like in July of this year, didn't it?
Maybe I had misspoke. Maybe from the very first beginning paperwork that we'd gotten, the big packets we'd gotten. Yeah, from those.
Okay. Did you ever talk to the Summit land agents about a different route?
No, we like our neighbors. Don't we want to push on somebody else? No.
And there was no better place on your land as far as you're concerned?
No. Yeah, there's no better.
Did the land agents ever mention eminent domain to you?
No. No. We never had much conversations with them.
Okay.
Yeah. They would drive in, we would tell them to leave. Basically. They would try to hand us packet work, we wouldn't take it.
And do you know whether Summit had anybody survey your land?
We're assuming they have, but on July 14th of 2023, my sister had gone out to check some traps, and she noticed a semi on the gravel road just adjacent to what we call the Ralph farm, where Summit wants to go through. There was a semi with a boring machine on it, and 5 trucks and another car, all out of state. So she pulled up to him and asked him what's going on, and the lead agent, John Robertson, said that they were here to survey and that we had given them permission. And she goes, absolutely not. We have not given you permission. And I'm going to call the Wright County Sheriff. And he said, well, we've already talked to them. They know we're going to be here. Well, she did call. And they said, yes. Well, my sister stressed that, no, we did not give them permission. And they called me. She called me to talk to them, too. And I said, you guys don't have a permit to do this. We have not given you any permission. So after that confrontation, they did leave, but their intentions were to do more obviously, some type of work.
Did they ever send you a written notice that they were gonna survey?
Never, ever. No.
Are there any, occupied buildings close to where the pipeline would be here?
My sister's about a mile away, which would be further up to the north
Okay.
of this map, in the town of Dallas. It'd be a little further yet.
Yeah.
Yep, just a little, right, you just about had it, and then the town of Dallas.
Okay,
And my sister's right there, right.
all right. And that's all the questions I have, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Ryan?
Thank you. Good afternoon. I just want to follow up with a couple of quick questions about the meeting that you said you went to when security escorted you out. You're in Wright County, correct?
Correct.
And was that meeting also in Wright County?
Yes, at the Heartland Museum, there in Clarion.
Okay. Was that, and you said that was by invitation?
Yes.
What kind of invitation was it?
I was like a postcard.
Okay. And was there anybody there in addition to Summit?
Well, we never got to go inside to find out. I mean, we know there were probably 100 landowners there, but we weren't allowed to go in any further. So
Okay.
I'm sure there probably was.
Was that, was anybody from the utilities board there?
Again, we weren't allowed to go in, so
And you said that was in March of
March
2022?
it was
Okay.
Wednesday, 5 o'clock. Yeah. Very cold.
Okay. And the security identified themselves as Summit Security?
Summit said they had hired security.
Okay. And it was security who escorted
Yeah.
you? Okay. All right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Coles?
Good afternoon, Ms. Swan. You said that your farm was located close to Dow's. How
Yes.
far away, how far is that?
They could probably do the measurement, but it's less than a mile.
So are you concerned if there's an incident on your property? How it will
Absolutely.
affect the people of Dow's?
Yes, and there's a swimming pool on the south side of town. So definitely it's a concern, absolutely. And it's all volunteer fire department. There is more of a hazmat department in Fort Dodge, but that's quite a distance.
What kind of interaction did you have with Summit representatives?
Very minimal. I mean, whenever they came onto our property, if I was there, me and my sister both would say we're not interested. After August of 2023, we said, August 2022, we'd hired down a law group to contact our lawyer. And after that, we pretty much didn't have any more issues.
Do you depend on, you don't live there, do you depend on the rent for this land for?
Me and my sister both do, yes, especially for my sister. Farming income is her only income. I had left the farm and had worked, so that was supplement income for me. But yes, we do, and we know the land value will deteriorate if this pipeline goes through.
Do you have a tenant that farms that land?
Yes,
Has he mentioned or she mentioned concerns about the risk?
absolutely. They can't believe that it's already 2 years that this hasn't been stopped already. Yeah, they're very concerned.
Can you give us what are some of his concerns?
Well, like with all the big farm equipment anymore, going over that, what's going to happen? What about liability? You know, will they still want to rent our ground? There's so much up in the air about the liability of it.
So is he concerned about crop damage and soil?
Crop field, yeah, sure, absolutely.
Um,
And in Iowa, or Wright County, rocks, boulders are notorious for coming up all the time. I mean, 3 years ago, he went to dig up a rock. He didn't think it was going to be back. I couldn't get my arms around it. That's Wright County. Rocks are always coming up. There's going to be more weed issue without being disturbing the ground, there's gonna be a lot more weeds. How's that gonna be dealt? Who's gonna have to compensate for that?
Are you concerned about the reclamation of the land after a pipeline is put in
Yes,
and the damage and yield? And
yeah, absolutely. There'll be a permanent between the weeds, the rocks that will be brought up. That's a lot of work to pick up those rocks. We've got several big piles on the farms from through the years. They're always working up.
do you think an installation of a pipeline could determine how you use that land in the future, or will they be hesitant?
Very hesitant. Very hesitant.
So a great sort of
Liability.
liability and loss of income.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Hike?
Hello, Marjorie Swan. I'm Chris Hike, I'm a landowner. My question is, with you and your sister or yourself, do you have any future plans for this property?
We're
or just-
hoping to pass it on to my sister's. My sister has 2 daughters, hoping to spread it on, and then my other niece has there is 1 grandchild, so we're hoping to keep it in the family. But now we're concerned with those 2 farms. Do we want that burden on them? What gives us the right to pass that on to them if there's going to be such a burden?
Thank you.
Mr. Dublinsky?
Your Honor. Ms. Swan, I believe it was a question from Mr. Taylor. You said that you had gotten no written notice of the intent to survey. Was that your testimony?
We never accepted anything.
Right, that's what I wanted to clarify. You and your sister both refused that certified mail, correct?
Correct.
And in fact, you wrote in big handwritten letters, refused with a couple exclamation points, correct?
Correct.
Nothing further.
Thank you. Mr. Jorde for redirect?
Yes, thank you. So that mailing that you refused, you understand that's your right to refuse mail, correct?
Correct.
And do you understand that Summit has sued other landowners for surveys?
Yes.
And if they would have conducted any surveying activity on any of your parcels, it would have been done so against your will and explicit instruction.
Correct.
Are you aware if Summit at any time did geotechnical surveys relative to the river crossing they seek on your property?
We're not aware that they have. We were maybe wondering if maybe they did for our neighbor, Mr. Anderson, because his land was more closer to the river, where we felt the pipeline was going. We weren't definite for sure where the route was going.
You mentioned the rocks and the boulders that come up frequently, and you equated that to a problem with weeds. Do you have any concern that those rocks coming up from the bottom could affect the pipeline and impact it?
Sure, absolutely. Yes. They're always working up.
How many hours do you think you've devoted from start to, as you sit here today, to this project?
Without the summit meetings, we've attended all of them. Going to the Capitol, going to IUB meetings, doing the Zooms, trying to educate ourselves, trying to educate other friends about this, why we're against it. Countless hours, for two and a half years now, countless hours.
Hundreds?
Yes, hundreds, yes.
And you stated that you've gone to a lot of Summit meetings. Do you believe you've given Summit the very best shot that you could in allowing them to try to explain and satisfy your concerns?
Yes, and we also attend Board of Supervisor meetings too in Wright County when we could. We've attended those too when Summit was going to be there. So yeah, I feel we've definitely tried to listen to Summit, but we don't get the answers like everybody else has been saying about the plume, the safety of it. Yeah.
Other liability?
Other liability. Yeah, the list goes on and on, yes.
And all of the hundreds of hours you've invested, and I suppose your sister has also invested, has Summit ever offered you compensation for that economic damage you've suffered?
No.
I don't have anything further, Ms. Swan.
Thank you, Ms. Swan. Appreciate it.
Huh?
Okay, We are close enough to 3, so we'll take a 15-minute break and come back to.
Vicky Kepi.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Be back in about 15 minutes.